Welcome to another episode of Black Girl Diagnosed. Today's guest is Janella, pronoun she, they, the creator behind Diversity and Neurodiversity. Janella is a Korean-Filipino American ADHD advocate who centers intersectionality and uplifts BIPOC autistic voices through education, humor, and honesty. They create safe spaces to talk about racism, ableism, and the real experiences of navigating life as a neurodivergent person of color. Welcome, Janella, to the show. Hi.
Hello.
I just want to thank you again for joining me. I'm really excited to have you. Um, One of the first videos of yours that I saw was you talking about how you just block racist white autistic people, and I was like, who is this? I have to follow her. I need I need her on my timeline because I must say this, I don't excuse racist behavior from
hmm
somebody just because they're autistic. And white autistic people are probably some of the most racist people that I have encountered because
hmm
they're just so intense. So when I saw that video, I was like, who is this? Why, how come I'm not following her already? I need to follow her. Okay, so you consistently emphasize intersectionality in the autism space. Why do you feel it's so important to keep having these conversations, especially within predominantly white autism narratives?
Mm. Yeah, it's such a great question, and thank you for having me. I was so excited when I got your email. And yeah, thank you for following too, because
I love it.
yeah, I was just I obviously it's reaching the right demographic of people because like that's some of the things I talk about too in relation to like this question and also with just like my content. Like I want more people of color, black and people of color to be following me, but like when I first started content, it was just a floodgate of mostly white autistic people just creating content, following my content. But I talk about and really emphasize intersectionality with my content because um, as my own experience as just a woman of color and then being diagnosed when I was 29 with autism and ADHD, I wanted to find like more experiences that I felt like I could actually relate to, but when I was looking through like online examples or just people sharing their stories, it was just white autistic women, and I just couldn't
Mhm.
find anybody that I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of relate to that. But once I made content, like my purpose and like I had the main intent to be like, no, I really want to be a different representation of autism and then also find a different community of autistic people because for intersectionality specifically, it just from unpacking my own autism and like neurodivergence, I've seen how there's so many different layers of like, yes, my autism and ADHD affect me, but it's also like being an Asian woman and being American and then all these other different identities that I hold that also contribute to like my behaviors or how I mask or don't mask and all these other things that contribute to unpacking who I am as a person apart from just being autistic.
Yeah, and that just makes so much sense, and I really appreciate your content. I when like I said, when I see it and I try to share it when I see it, but I just feel like more people need to know who you are, and more people need to see the things that you speak about. More people need to see you calling out these racist white autistic people who just it kind of seems like they don't like the fact that more people of color are being diagnosed as autistic, like it's just supposed to be some white members only club. So
Mm,
I just really appreciate your content, and I can relate when I started looking online when I'm a millennial and I was diagnosed about 10 years ago. So that's really a late diagnosis.
mm-hmm,
And when I was getting online, I was like, well, where are the black people? Where are the black and brown people? Like,
mm-hmm,
I don't relate to, I don't ha have the white autistic experience, which is different. I don't care how many of them tell me you make everything about race. Well, I don't have the white autistic experience, so I'm gonna talk about race. So how has navigating adulthood, especially managing chronic fatigue and other ongoing challenges, shaped the way you advocate and show up online?
Great question. I've been trying to really balance out like just posting or creating content when I am able to and feeling like I can because um when I first started making content, I was really focused on like engagement and being viral and all those things. But I've learned that like trying to reach that virility is actually also kind of in tangent to like not necessarily proof of it, but for my mindset, like kind of towards that white supremacy. Because like every time I have kind of gone like mini viral, it's just an explosion of mostly white people who like see that content. And so a lot of the times too, when I do go viral, and if it's for specific videos, I'm like, hey, if you're following me, know that this is my type of content. If you don't want to hear this, you should unfollow me now. So it's kind of funny because I'm really like the opposite of what I first started, where I was, doing like videos of like, oh, thank you for 1,000 followers. But now I'm like, oh, I got a lot of followers. Hey, be wary of what you're going to be seeing. Um, because I really want to create more like community. And so I think that's kind of been a way for me to navigate through all my different types of fatigue and issues is like my intent isn't to really be viral, but to kind of curate a community of people and shared experiences and highlight different voices that I feel like really need to be listened to, apart from just like, like having like a whole bunch of followers that really don't like interact with each other or really don't add to a
Hmm.
discussion. They're just like validating me. But I'm really happy from the followers I've been seeing and gaining that kind of share and really contribute to like a conversation in the comments or get inspired to like maybe make their own content or, just things like that that kind of create more connections between each other rather than like me being like a source of, I don't know, validation for them.
Yeah, that's understood. I noticed that like when I make a like I put up a post about and that I didn't really appreciate when I speak about the non-white autistic experience. There's always like a white woman in the comments and she's like, "Oh, well, it's not it's that happens to us too." No, it doesn't.
Mm-mm,
And they
mm-mm,
just don't understand and they don't get it and they always want to recenter whiteness. So now
mm-hmm,
sometimes when I do put my post up, I'm like, this is what it is when you come to my page. If you're new here, this is what I represent. This is what I stand for. This is what I don't stand for. So if you don't like it, I encourage you to leave now. So
mm-hmm,
I get it when you say that this is what I am. This is what I represent because they don't get it. And I have
mm-hmm,
great allies, but I can appreciate the ones who step aside and know that certain things are not their place to say and certain things they'll never understand.
mm-hmm,
But you shared that reading more nonfiction, history, and anti-racist books has been meaningful for you.
mm-hmm.
How has that learning influenced your understanding of identity, advocacy, and community?
Yeah, I'm recently trying to finish up a book called Anti-Racism as a Daily Practice. Um, and interesting enough, like I just saw it at Barnes and Noble. I didn't do any research really. I was just like, oh, this book looks exactly like I wanted to, but it's written by a white author. And I was like, ah, dang. Did have done actual some research, but I did like a lot of the way I've been informed before, like trying to read more like books or actual things, is it being informed through black and brown people who talk about social justice and advocacy, who aren't autistic or maybe autistic, but even my own best friend, who's shared so much insight and information on anti-racism and white supremacy and like how, especially for Americans and then also for, different parts of culture can really center whiteness and how all that information that I've learned from before actually really informs and validates the stuff I'm seeing in this book.
Hmm.
Um, And the book I think is actually pretty good, even though it's written by a white author, but they wrote it in a way that's like specifically for a white audience to be like in what I've told like friends, like this is for like written in like white language where it's like, it kind of really um talks in a way that kind of, is trying to be kind, but then the person is like also trying to really focus on like the way that they're talking or the way that they have to share these certain experiences or write is also something they need, like the audience or the person reading needs to like learn to reflect on like how why this is actually, white supremacist or why this is bad, and it gives like advice, but it's really been informative for me as far as my content because all these different all the different information and experience I've really tried to listen to and like resonate with, it just permeates in the autistic online community, and it's something, I don't rarely ever hear or see people talk about except for Black and brown autistic people sharing their
Hmm.
experiences about like the racism they face. But a lot of the times when I first started making content, that their voices didn't seem to be amplified at all. And so um, I kind of try to use my own, in a sense, like proximity to whiteness, being an Asian woman,
Hmm.
and then also like being transparent and talking about how I've also been trying to unpack my own like white supremacist upbringing and mindset I used to have. So trying to bridge that connection and then utilize my proximity to whiteness to try to talk to that demographic, but also very directly telling them what's wrong with those things, which really doesn't necessarily get the most positive attention, but it is drawing in the type of demographic or the community like I'm trying to speak to and trying
Well,
to have a
everybody doesn't like the truth, you know what I mean?
right.
And I feel like you speak about things that need attention, and
Hmm.
people can't always face the truth. And I always say that, like, sometimes you need to have uncomfortable conversations and you don't grow in comfort. So you're doing everything exactly right. Because I sit back sometimes when I don't want people to know I'm on Instagram sometimes because Instagram can be a little bit overstimulating for
Right.
me. Like every time they do an update, I kind of hate it a little bit more.
Mm.
And sometimes I just post my stuff and I get right back off, but I will scroll and I'll see like some content. I'm like, okay, well this is really good. And there's just things that like um I may have overlooked, or I just love to see everybody's perspective, and I love to see how I love to see so I can respect everybody's autistic experience. And I feel like if white autistic people could want to see and respect everybody else's autistic experience and not just center their white autistic experience, we would have a much easier time. But they're so intensely racist that I don't feel like it'll ever be that way. But thank you for sharing it. That was a really good answer.
Thank you. Yeah. And just kind of what you're saying, like how intensely racist like white autistic people can be. It's kind of uh surprised me how bad it is. Because of at least for me, like I've been very privileged to not really experience really blatant direct racism in my life. And the only times I've really experienced that was from talking about racism and these type of topics within the autism community, and
Yeah.
like having for my first time like getting encountered with so many racial slurs
God.
when I made a video that was like, yeah, it was poorly worded, but it gave like white people and white autistic people's like they just confirmed the way my video was like worded. I'm like, okay, so I word this badly, and then you just go directly to just sending me hate speech and threats and racial slurs. Like
They're
it's no
just
big deal.
they're just showing who they are. In
Yeah.
2021, I wrote an article about, Black autistic women, how we felt unseen and we were often overlooked. And it got published, and a lot of white autistic men, and they were calling me all type of black bitches. And I was like, because I'm expressing how we deserve to be validated and we deserve to be seen. One guy was like, oh, look at black women always making everything about themselves. I have
Mm.
two white autistic nephews. And I'm like, but you just made it about yourself and your
Mhm.
two white autistic nephews. But yeah, and as someone who has grown up with an activist father, civil rights activist, who's had death threats against my family. These white autistic people are just as bad as the Klan members who threaten my family. So
Mm.
I just look sometimes like, you need therapy.
I know, it's so true.
They're just so intensely racist, and you sit back and you're like, I'm not giving you a pass because you're autistic. You don't get to be racist, and you don't get a pass because you're autistic. Somebody in your life can sit you down and tell you this is not right.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's great that you mentioned that too because I don't know if you followed like the whole like Kaylin the I forgot how to pronounce her last name. Um the kind of popular creator who was just like making basically mimicking or like I thought was like mocking like high support needs in her video and then trying
Oh,
to
I did
emphasize
see that, but
yeah.
I didn't know who she was, but I was like,
Mm.
why is this okay? Why is she being
Mhm.
praised for this? Why is she being praised and sitting up on a pedestal for this? So I did see it, but I wasn't fully aware of what it was.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was hearing that a lot too. Like, she's been mostly popular because of her connection to Love on the Spectrum. Like, she was on it
Hmm.
for one season, and then from that, she got kind of gained a lot of popularity as like an autistic advocate, even though the majority of her content just centers on like white, low support needs, autistic, and
That ain't being an
yeah.
advocate, but
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. But she just made all these other really problematic videos, and in that same video with high support needs, she literally used like a microaggression of mispronouncing Zoran Mamdani's name as a way to like rage bait and she said in a follow-up video that she later deleted, like she just used it for engagement, and it was just all these other things where then she just kept making videos that made it worse, that also informed why she has such bad like mindset, because later on like her mom was in one video and you could see how her mom literally says like, oh, we didn't tell her this ending about Aunt Frank because we didn't want to like make her uncomfortable, or like she has big feelings, and this is what good moms do. And I'm like, that's not a
No,
reality. Yeah.
if she can make big emotional reaction videos and you can sit her
Right.
down with her big feelings and tell her what's wrong and tell her what's right.
Mm-hmm.
Why
Exactly.
why are you enabling like ignorant behavior?
Yeah.
And like I probably and I don't- people like I notice a lot of non-autistic people love on the spectrum and I fucking
Mm-hmm.
hate it.
Yeah.
It is not something that I enjoy. I mean, I see what they tried to do, but I don't think it landed like it was supposed to with autistic people.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate when I meet somebody and they're like, "Do you see love on the spectrum?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking me that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is that all you know about autism?"
Yeah,
But
yeah, but it's true. Yeah, that is all they know about autism.
and
Cause
that's terrible. Between that, the Sia movie,
yeah.
everybody thinking all autistic people are like Rain Man or Radio.
Yeah.
It's just the representation. Like I do try to speak about like representation in TV and film of autistic
Mm.
people because we're not all the same. And you know, traditionally the face of autism has been little white boys,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what it is anymore. But thank you for, this is a safe space, but thank you for bringing that
Mm-hmm.
up because I wasn't fully aware of that situation with her. So knitting seems to
Mm-hmm.
be a grounding practice for you. What role do creative activities play in your regulation and self-care as a neurodivergent adult?
Yeah, another great question. Always a great question. Um, I feel like I need for me like to connect like to like you as you mentioned like with like grounding myself. I when I got my ADHD diagnosis, I was like, no, I don't have that. But I've really come to realize I do have it. It's more of a like a pretty mild a severity, but it still shows up in ways where like knitting is a way for me to regain like focus and to regain a sense of like calming my nervous system down and trying to relax and like also have something that's stimulating. And it's like learning to craft and do things like knitting helps that side of my ADHD where I'm kind of always constantly learning something new or I'm doing something with my hands and having that way to regulate myself through this activity has been so helpful for me because I mean I always wanted to learn how to knit or do crafts, but that's also another thing where I felt like I was never able to do because I didn't have the patience. And I don't know what it is now being in my like early 30s, but knitting has been like so amazingly such a great craft for me to invest in because I can make my own clothes or like I'm making things for friends and just like the way you literally have nothing and you create something out of it is
Hmm.
also something that's just like really cool about knitting and then also how it's connected me to friends around me and other types of communities of people but yeah, that crafting and knitting specifically helps me to um, kind of, you know, decompress and then like in between making content or especially if there is like crazy things that are happening online that I don't really want to deal with. I'm like, okay, I'll put my phone down and just
Yeah.
I can focus, truly focus on that instead of like try to answer all these comments or things like that.
Yeah, like for me, it was kind of like the opposite. Like, because I'm an artist and I draw, I do illustrations, and I couldn't function if I wasn't drawing or doing something creative. I was just like off the walls if I wasn't
Mm.
doing art and if I wasn't doing something creative. So, that's really awesome that you found something to ground yourself and to be able to pour your creativity out in that way. And I love like seeing people's finished creations who knit. I'm like, how'd you do that? It just it's so awesome. But as an ADHD person, how do you navigate travel and what has travel taught you about yourself and your access needs?
Yeah, it's I've only recently been interested in traveling more because I just recently this year visited my best friend in Quebec, Canada, and at least for me, like when it comes to anything, weirdly enough, I have kind of that connection between my autism and ADHD where I plan as much as I can with the things happening, but I think having the ADHD actually helped with kind of being okay with the spontaneity or things happening that I just had no control over, and then trying to regulate and manage myself when those things happen. Because for the most part, like when I first traveled to Quebec, there was a lot of these things that I had planned, but a lot of it fell through where I showed up like I bought the wrong ticket for like to travel from a bus from Montreal to Quebec from the airport
Sounds like
and
something I would have did.
yeah, and I was like, because I bought it, I thought I bought it from the bus that went from the airport directly to Quebec, but I did buy it from like Montreal, but it was like a slightly different location, like their
Oh,
station. So I just bought it at the wrong station, and I was like, "Where's the bus?" Like, and I was like, "I'm supposed to be here," and I even asked the person, but you know, they speak mostly French there, and it's a
hmm.
different culture and they were just mad at me and yelling at me. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And things were just like, but then some people were really nice. Like when I try to find another bus, and to explain the situation, the lady was really helpful in trying to
Hmm.
help me out. And And then other things just happening like on the way back. Like I actually went to Quebec during the time when Air Canada was on strike. So then there
Oh,
was another thing where like I was supposed to come back on a Saturday on that Saturday when but that was the Saturday they started striking. So I had to
oh
like
man.
extend my trip, but I also was like very lucky that I was staying with my best friend's brother, so there was their family, and they were very kind and just let me stay there for another day or two, so it
Oh,
wasn't
that's
like I had to worry about expenses. But yeah, it's been something where traveling has kind of engaged that spontaneity where I'm like planning for my next trips next year to visit my friends in all these other different countries and places. Um, but also I'm learning that like with as far as my accommodations, like it was really helpful to get the lanyard, the sunflower lanyard.
yeah, yeah, I have that.
Yeah,
Because you need to know, because if something happens,
yeah,
I'm gonna have a meltdown.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, at first trying to buy it, I was kind of thinking about, should I like, that kind of balance, especially being like a lower support needs and late diagnosis, like, oh, am I taking away an accommodation or
No,
am
you're
like,
not.
should I? Yeah, exactly. So it just, and it was really easy too, like as long as I just went up to the desk and be like, hey, could I, like just being able to board a little bit earlier than everybody was
Yeah, that
really
helps. That
helpful.
is such a big help.
Yeah.
And but something I don't like, if you don't have like a
Mm-hmm.
disability that's visible, people kind of look at you like, well, why are you boarding
Mm-hmm.
early? What's wrong with you? So that is like something that really bothers me because I notice when I do board early, I get like looks like, why is she boarding early?
Mm.
And I feel like those of us who have invisible disabilities, sometimes people invalidate us because of that.
Mm.
We might not be in a wheelchair, or you may not be able to see what's quote unquote wrong with us, but that doesn't make our struggles, any less worthy, or it doesn't mean you get to invalidate us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I
it's
definitely,
sorry?
no, I was just saying that I definitely would have had a meltdown if I experienced what you experienced when you traveled.
Yeah, like I was really surprised well, I eventually did, but I was really surprised I was able to like hold it in, as long as I did because the thing that really triggered my meltdown is like when I was coming home, and I had to book a different flight. It was supposed to be a connecting flight, but for some reason they landed in a different airport because they said they ran out of gas. And I was like, man, how do you ran out of
Oh
gas when
my
you know
goodness,
where to
that's a
go?
long
So then I
trip.
missed my connecting flight. But so did everybody else on the flight. But I was like, oh shit, this is really another like, like layer on top of all the other shit that happened. And then I started crying, having a meltdown on the plane. I was like, oh god. But
That would have been me.
it was also kind of like interesting because literally the man next to me on that flight who was sitting was just this older white man and his family, and it was just interesting to see the contrast of reaction because he was like, oh wow, well it's good we ate before we got on the flight. Like it was just like, oh, you're not freaking out right now.
I definitely would have been freaking out, but
Yeah.
it is really interesting to see how neurotypical people can just breeze through certain things,
Mm.
and then they kind of look at us like, look at these weirdos, can't
Yeah.
even get on a flight, can't even get on a plane and go somewhere. But thank you for being so transparent and sharing your travel experience. And I know me, I always have to have a travel companion, or have airport assistance. Um, so just to wind things down, do you have any recent projects that you'd like to share with our audience?
Nothing that I'm really recently working on. I've just been trying to, I think, kind of recover from kind of being in between burnout or
Hmm.
feeling like I'm gonna experience burnout again. So, I really haven't been making content, but I've been um, trying to really still stay connected by sharing and watching all of the videos and content from like other
I feel
friends.
you. I haven't been
Hmm.
making content either. I'm just sitting still right now,
Yeah.
trying to recharge, trying to prevent burnout.
Hmm.
I'm trying to prepare for the new year, so I definitely understand. So, what do you want people to know and take away from this interview?
I think the biggest thing is just like how important it is for black and brown voices to be amplified, but also just like the connections it could bring from having marginalized communities really talk openly about their experiences and with each other. These are always my favorite types of things to have an opportunity to do is just to speak with other people, but also to really share and listen to experiences and just how similar they are. And I think that's just another example of that where like I just really enjoy this part and it's been so the thing that consistently brings me uh, to wanting to continue to create content is like having people to share and like listen to their experiences and relate to.
Yeah, thank you. Where can everyone find you?
So you can find me pretty much on Instagram and TikTok under the handle Diversity and Neurodiversity. I do have YouTube, but I don't really use it, but I am kind of thinking about maybe potentially doing long form content in the future.
Mhm.
When that is, I don't have a date, but it's a thing in my mind.
Okay, so I understand because I have YouTube. YouTube is like one of the hardest places to get
Yeah.
subscribers. I've been stuck on like 300 subscribers for four
Yeah.
years. So I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Janella, for sharing your powerful story and wisdom with us today. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Black Girl Diagnosed. Your presence and support means everything. And until next time, take care and keep advocating with love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.